up and flowing.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another bourbon show. Excited for another episode. Tonight, we're going to be drinking this one, this fancy bottle right here, a Sazerac Rye. Sazerac Rye, it's 90 proof. It doesn't have an age statement. The mash bill is a little bit hard to pick on this one because it's a Buffalo Trace product, so it's not disclosed exactly what their mash bill is, but it's really thought to be 51% rye, 39% corn, and 10% malted barley. So rye whiskey is not bourbon. It is rye whiskey. To be labeled rye whiskey, it has to be 51% rye. So this meets literally the bare minimum requirement. And it's thought to be that 39% corn. So it does have a very bourbon-ish flavor to it, right? So you're not getting into like the High West double rye and all those kind of things that are like super high rye counts. This just meets the bare minimum requirements. But it is a damn good pour when you find it for near the suggested retail price of $30. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. But Stephen, what do you think of this bottle or this label here?
Here we go.
Man, it feels so good to have established myself to the point where people are like, "Oh, here we go," whenever I have my segment. But I think that I think this falls under the category of a bottle I really like overall, but a label itself that is just kind of like okay. I basically feel the same way with the label that I do with Elijah Craig, sort of, except I do like the styling a lot. We talked recently about the Southern Comfort, and we talked about how they kind of jazz it up a little bit, right? They have a little New Orleans influence to it, and you can see that here on this bottle as well. Mm-hmm. And I definitely have to give them props for making it a little fancier. There's a little more flourish to it than there is Elijah Craig. So I'm going to be giving it a 7 out of 10, I think, which is, so it's above average. It's really nice, but I think it's mainly about the bottle and how cool the bottle looks. And it really looks like an old school bottle that you'd find in a saloon or something to me. Yeah. And I think it's pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. So you mentioned it. I don't know if the listeners know that, but I know this, but Sazerac is another New Orleans bourbon, New Orleans drink. It's a long, very cool story. Thomas H. Handy, he bought a coffee shop and turned it into that's where Sazerac Rye comes from. Now, Sazerac, this drink actually has a mixed drink named after it called the Sazerac, which claims to be the original American whiskey drink. I don't know about that shit, but anyway, so what do you say? We want to give it a sniff and a taste?
Yeah, my nice SoCo glass.
Now, the last rye I had was the Michter's Toasted, Dan. So
okay. Well, this is
tough
not
to follow.
It is. Yeah, that's a tough one to follow. That's good shit. Sorry, I could only give you 1 ounce, but like I said, if you guys came over here, we could drain a bottle. That'd be fine. But you're taking it to go, you get an ounce.
I really like the nose.
Yeah, it's got a very pleasant nose.
Very fruity.
Yeah. Fruity, and I mean it's got a very bourbon-ish nose to me, right? Like if like some of those higher rye whiskeys, like you can smell the spiciness that you're about to drink. This has a much sweeter nose to it. I get like fruits and orange. I get a lot of orange, which by the way, I've got some oranges down here with me because I know that oranges go well with Sazerac.
One thing I think it smells like to me, in addition to all those notes you mentioned, Dan, and all the typical like sort of rye in bourbon notes you'll get, is I almost smell like those chapsticks that are like the fruity chapsticks, like it'd be like a cherry chapstick or something like that. I get almost that type of smell from it too.
Yeah, that's an interesting like observation, but I don't disagree.
Smells like cherry plastic. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit. It's almost like a cherry waxy type of smell.
You know those wax lips from when you're a kid? That's what this smells.
Anyway, cheers, boys.
Drink up.
Not like last week, hopefully. Jesus. This was for our listeners. Last week we did mellow corn, and I was very hungover. I did that in one night.
Now that was the first time you had ever drank mellow corn, right?
Yeah.
How bad were you cussing me?
Might be the last.
How bad were you cussing me?
Oh man, dude, that I loved. I mean, I'd still drink it again. That hangover was bad though. It's probably just because I drank almost a whole bottle. But
yeah, I was gonna say I don't think you can blame like mellow corn for the hangover. It's the amount of mellow corn.
I didn't even remember. I woke up the next day. I was like, oh Jesus Christ. Didn't really remember falling asleep. Woke up, saw the bottle. I'm like, oh Jesus. Oh boy, work's gonna be fun.
So what do you guys think of the taste of Sazerac?
It's good. I get those fruity notes too, and a lot of vanilla.
Mm-hmm. Not caramel.
I do get some caramel too. I get more of a sweeter vanilla-y though.
Yeah,
on my tongue.
To me, one of the things that is neat about Sazerac is, to me, it's got a very dry finish to it. Like the type of a dry finish, or dry, even a palate dry, that you normally only get from a finished whiskey, right? Like a lot of times if you, anytime you pick up a whiskey, rye, bourbon, whatever, that's been finished in a wine barrel, it tends to give me that dryness on my tongue during the palate and the finish, during the taste and the finish. Sazerac does that to me too, but without having been in a wine finish. But I mean, it's good stuff for $30 in my opinion. Anything you pick up? Anything you pick up, Stephen?
I think that I guess my initial reaction is it's almost got a little too much going on for my taste. I feel like it's not bad, but my initial reaction is that I wouldn't necessarily sip this a lot on its own. And I would maybe have it in old fashioned or something like that. But it has those notes like you're talking about, Dan, which I liked in maybe like Legion. But in something like this, I feel like the rye whiskey on its own has so much flavor and complexity to it already that when you add too much else, I don't know, there has to be a limit, right? Where there's definitely some sort of peak where you no longer get a return on your investment for continuing to put in other barrels and whatnot. And I think this is kind of like right at that limit. So I guess that's my initial thoughts.
Okay. Well, one thing to keep in mind is that like Sazerac was created, and like the whole goal of Sazerac was to be used in the mixed drink called Sazerac. The mixed drink called Sazerac came before this came into existence, right? So my point being is that it was originally intended, this is to be used for mixing drinks. This is not to be enjoyed straight. You can, and it's perfectly fine to drink it neat. However, it is phenomenal in a Manhattan. It is phenomenal in the drink called a Sazerac cocktail. I've never used it in an old fashioned, but that's just because I haven't, not because I've avoided it or whatever. I just never have. But really a Sazerac cocktail is not all that different than an old fashioned to begin with. You just add some cognac, a little more bitters than you normally would. And you're supposed to rinse your glass in absinthe before you mix it. But if I've got absinthe, I'm just going to get shitty on on the absinthe and hallucinate all night because that's how I roll.
I've never had a Sazerac to drink. I don't know why. It just has never happened.
Really, you should.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to use two different types of bitters, but let's be honest here, you don't have to, right? Like, maybe for the first one, go ahead and do it, and then whenever you run out of one of the style of bitters, then just make it however you want after that. But yeah, it's like equal parts rye whiskey and cognac, sugar cube muddled in some water and bitters and stirred with, put in some ice, stir it, and then you're supposed to strain it, but whatever. I mean, that's it. So I mean, really the difference here is that with Sazerac cocktail, instead of having simple syrup, you take the sugar cube and you muddle it in the glass, which is essentially the same thing as simple syrup to begin with. It's just that simple syrup, you heat the water and do it separately. So I mean, that's really the difference. But yeah, I encourage you to try that. So
I got to. I mean, I don't drink much cognac either. So, but
I have no cognac. I have none in my house. I don't have any brandy in my house either. Like, I'm just not I enjoy a brandy every now and then, but not enough. Like, I've got too much bourbon that my wife gets pissed off about the space that I have for bourbon, let alone starting to bring in some brandy and cognac. But
yeah, I was out at a cigar lounge with my brother and some of his bosses. And one of his boss's friends, it was his birthday, so he had a handle of Remy 1738. And I'm like, well, I've never had 1738. It's an expensive bottle, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can I get a glass of that? I've never had it. He's like, oh yeah, here. Gives me a glass, and I do just a regular 2-ounce pour. Guy's like, that's it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's your bottle. I'm not gonna pour any more than that. He's like, keep pouring. So I keep pouring it, and I'm just looking at him until he tells me to stop. And I filled up a glass this size, 12-ounce glass, and it was that much cognac up to here.
Jesus.
I'm like, I mean, it was it was good. It was delicious. I liked it a lot. But, I mean, 5 or 6 drinks over a 2-hour span. Remy Martin's going to knock you off your feet.
Can we just talk about how homeless Ryan looks right now?
I know.
Which is weird because he's in his home for the first time.
Exactly. You're in your own home, but you actually look homeless.
You know, I'll take that up. Yeah, it looks bad.
That's worse.
I was just telling my wife, I'm like, man, I need to shave. You know how like one day your beard looks fine, good size, and then you wake up the next day and it's just disgusting? Yeah. It's definitely, that was today. If I was paying more attention, I would have trimmed it, but whatever. It's fucking gross. Look at that neck hair. With like no hair right here. It's baby skin. It's weird.
Hey, so where did you guys get your Sazerac and how much did you pay? Steven, did you get yours on your own or did I give it to you?
No, you gave it to me. And it was funny because as we'll talk about, I'm sure like next week or on an episode that's coming up soon, I went by your place and then I went to a place right after that you recommended that had both the bottles I had just gotten from you.
Oh, okay.
So I could have ended up getting them there, but I'm drinking yours, and I decided not to buy a bottle there at the time because you'd already given me the pour for this, and I wasn't sure I would like it. I'd never had it before. You know, so this is. We'll talk more about that later, but that's your pour.
Okay. So Steven got his from me. Ryan, do you remember where you got yours or when?
This is like the last of the 3 bottles I think you bought us a few years back.
So that,
but I was at Benny's like 2 days ago, and they had 750s and handles on the shelf. So if I was going to get it, none of my stores have it in their set right now. But this is the last one from like 2 years ago.
Gotcha. Okay. So then,
do the handles on it come in the same shape, by the way?
They're just obviously a little wider at the base.
Yeah.
Got it.
But
I think the neck is also wider, or no?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, it's like take a picture of that, enlarge it, and that's your bottle.
They do. the Benny's here limits one per customer. I noticed on the shelf too. There's a
Oh,
little
no
shelf
kidding.
tag. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But-
so that's something I want to bring. So I want to bring up that in just a second. But so my bottle came from the Phillips 66 in Maryville. It was, I don't know. Steven, do you remember what the price tag was on it?
I don't.
Okay. I mean, it's in that $30 range, probably between $30 and $35, something like that. And the SRP is $30 even. But again, Bobby or Dean's or Nirav over in Effingham, they're not going to price gouge you. So it's in that $30 to $35 range at any of those stores. But what I wanted to bring up, and Ryan, this is getting in on that topic, is that, okay, so Steven and I are both in the St. Louis area. Ryan is up in Chicago. And if you've listened to us before, you know that I'm really active in the St. Louis Bourbon Society. And it always just drives me insane that folks on the Missouri side of the river, they get so excited when they find Sazerac on a shelf. And if you're on the Illinois side, I guarantee you, anybody on the Illinois side is like, what are you guys talking about? Why would you possibly be excited about finding Sazerac Rye on a shelf? Or Buffalo Trace, for that matter. Because on this side of the river, you can get it. Like where I'm at, within 10 minutes, I can pick up 10 bottles of it from 4 different places. Like it's available in at Schnucks in bulk. You can get it at Deerberg's in bulk. You can walk up and buy 6 bottles if you want to. And you know what? They've got 6 more bottles sitting there waiting for somebody else. So it kind of surprises me, Ryan, that there's a 1 per limit at a major store like Benny's.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised too. But
do any of your stores carry it?
No, not a single one. So, which is surprising because it's something you think Buffalo Trace would want to push, but for whatever reason, you don't really see it. Since you bought this bottle for me like 3 years ago, it was harder to find up here. And now it's, I guess they open distribution a little more. They're making more of it every year, but it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
So when I was excited 2 years ago, it's not the same anymore. It's like, oh, there it is. Okay.
So Steven, you got some Glencairn glasses.
I did. Yeah. It was a Christmas gift from a friend. He got me 4 of them. For a Secret Santa gift. So he said he got me a booster pack of Glencairn glasses to start me off with. And I think that my initial review of the glasses is that it does help you pick up notes with the smell and everything. There could be an element of that is sort of a placebo effect, but I think it's just there's anything that'll have a bulb and the smaller opening to concentrate the smell just helps a little bit. It helps waft it a little bit. It doesn't
just makes you look pretentious.
Smells. Yeah. But it does. I think it helps you enjoy the whiskey. If you're just like sitting there some night, it'll help you enjoy the whiskey, at least a little bit. And it just feels nice in the hand too. I mean, a glass is a glass, but it feels nice.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you that like if we were to do a completely blind tasting and I like tried to trick you guys, one of the things that I might try to do was pour the exact same pour, one in a Glencairn, one in a highball or a rocks glass or some other type of glass and see which you like better. Because I'm telling you, there you will notice a difference.
Yeah.
And so I think that a big part of it, like you said, Steven, is the going from a wide to a narrow to a wide area. It helps concentrate the smell. And so much of taste is based on smell, right? Like huge part of what you taste is based on what your nose is smelling. Yeah. So yeah, I think it does make a difference.
And I think that, we talk a lot about how drinking should be fun. And I just think that it's fun after after a long work day or something like that, where you're drinking out of normal glasses or a thermos or like a coffee mug or whatever it is, to like have a pour of something at night in a little Glencairn glass.
Yeah.
It just adds to the fun. Or, if you make some cocktails, it's fun to make them in the correct glass. If you got like, a brass mug for like a mule, or if you've got a Collins glass or whatever it might be, it's just it's a way to spice up that drink and make it feel a little bit different.
Now, Ryan, for your job, you've gone to a bunch of wine tastings and stuff, right? Like that's a big part of your job.
Well, it was.
Oh, it was? Okay. Did they talk about why? Do they talk about why certain wines are supposed to be in certain glasses?
Not really. With our company, at least, I mean, they just pull out like carts and carts of miniature wine glasses, and then after each one, you just switch out to what it is. So they don't go they don't go that in depth with it there.
So supposedly, like one of the reasons why certain wines are supposed to be served in different glasses is like you're not supposed to touch the glass on one of them. You're supposed to touch the stem because your hand heats up the glass, which adjusts the flavor of the wine. And like part of it that I get, but on the other hand, it's also kind of fucking stupid, right? Like,
to me, it's good marketing. You still remember that. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like it stuck with you, obviously.
Yeah.
It's funny when you go to a restaurant and you order like a white wine, like a New Zealand, like Sauvignon Blanc. A lot of them are screw tops now.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be like a nice restaurant. And your favorite, but they pour a little bit into the glass and they have you taste it. So it's not corked. Mm-hmm. That's why they do that. If you ever had a corked wine before, it tastes disgusting. So it's like, well, it's not corked, so I know it's going to be good. So you can just keep pouring.
Yeah.
And usually the waiter or waitress is like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But they still have to do it for their job.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
I like the more eccentric parts of the tasting, like what you're talking about, Dan, where it's like, oh, don't touch this part, or like when they'll do something a little bit different than just like sitting around talking about what it tastes like. So like one thing I heard before is that sometimes like a distiller will let you sample like White Dog or whatever, and they'll have you put some on your hands, and then like rub it in the smell, So all those things are kind of like a cooler aspect to this sort of tasting environment that it's less pretentious and more just like these weird things you can do to show a point.
Well, so on one hand, again, like I said before, I think a lot of it is really dumb. However, a lot of it does actually make a difference too. Like, so I'm not a wine drinker, but one of them is supposed to be chilled and one of them is not supposed to be chilled. Is it white that's chilled and red is not?
That's correct.
Technically, well, yeah, but if you have a sweet red wine, a lot of people want that in the fridge. And if you have a dry white wine, not everyone wants it cold,
Oh, okay.
It's just based on the varietal, but yeah, you're not going to put a Cabernet or a Merlot into the fridge because they're already so dry. And I mean, I unless you want to make it like, the Bud Lights of wine where it's just cold and you don't really taste how bad it really is or something. But like if I'm drinking I like to drink Sauv Blancs or Pinot Grigios. I like those cold. I don't like Chardonnays because they taste like butter. So I'll keep that one off to the side. But a lot of people drink those cold too. But a lot of days now you're seeing red blends that are a lot sweeter than they used to be. So people refrigerate those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so like one thing that the connection I'm trying to make here is that like some of those things do make a difference. And like if you were to take a wine that's not supposed to be chilled and chill it, it's going to have a very different taste to it than if it's served the way it's supposed to be served, right?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, and it's something that I stumbled across in the many years I've been drinking lots of whiskey, is that there's actually a proper temperature to drink whiskey too in bourbon. You're supposed to drink it around 68 degrees. 68 degrees is like the optimal temperature for whiskey, not only for storage, but for consuming it as well. And
I was going to say 69.
I think it's actually 68.9 or something. Like there's a very precise thing. I don't give a shit. It sits in my office or up in my pantry, depending on which bottle I want. But yeah, so I mean, little things like that do make a difference. Do I follow them? No, absolutely not. Like, I don't care enough to like.
Yeah, because on one hand, it's one of those things that you're min-maxing so much. And it's like, okay, if you really wanted to pick up all the flavors and all the notes and have it optimally, you shouldn't have smoked for the last 25 years, actually. You know
exactly.
I mean?
Has it been 25? That would have, no, it's been longer than 25. It's been 27 years. 27 years I've been smoking. Yeah.
You try to quit?
No.
No.
Why?
It is nice when you're drinking sometimes, you know.
I thought you tried to quit multiple times though.
I have. Shut up.
Oh, my bad. I gave him a view by paying no attention to the man behind the curtain. Do you think 2020 was like the least amount of people stopped smoking in history?
Oh, probably.
I feel like 2020 just set everybody back. It's just like everybody got fatter. Nobody stopped smoking. We started a whiskey podcast. It was just all around. It was just
oh, dude, I want to know. I cannot wait to see what alcohol sales were for 2020. Like Ryan, can you do just a very rough estimate of your sales 2020 compared to 2019 versus 2018?
So I was definitely up. I probably went into my last month, December, still being up like 30% for the year. So
Jesus,
it's crazy. I know there's a few guys who've grown their routes by, just because bars weren't open, whose routes have generated more than like 1.5 million more than it did the year before.
Good Lord.
But you also got to counter with all these bars are closed, all these restaurants are closed. So you're missing sales on that side entirely. Yeah. So for guys like me on the retail side, it's great. But if I was a bar salesman, wouldn't be the same story. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, March, April, May it was just nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conversely, you got to think there's going to be like as soon as we all have the vaccine and whatnot, there's going to be like a restaurant apocalypse where it's like everybody's back in there and like everybody's out celebrating all occasions,
like Roaring 20s type thing.
Yeah. And so then like nobody's at home ever. And then those kind of sales in retail may go down, maybe like that pendulum swing.
Well, it's definitely going to be, I'm not going to sell more this in 2021 than I did last year. It's just impossible.
Well, guys, do we want to give this a rating?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm ready to give it. I think I got a pretty fucking fiery rating for you guys tonight.
Oh, wow. Shit. Well, you know what? Go for it, Steven. Let's hear it.
I think I got a spicy little rating for a spicy little boy here. I'm going to be giving Sazerac Rye a 6.4.
Okay.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's not my cup of tea, really. And I say this as somebody who like at least has an okay opinion of ryes. Like I don't not like ryes, even if they're not my preferred whiskey. But I think, like I said earlier, I think there's a little much going on with this one that doesn't necessarily go together, limiting it, in my opinion, to kind of an expensive mixer is kind of where I put this, because I would mainly have this as an ingredient in cocktails and not too much on its own. So it's kind of a steep price, talking about the $30 to $35 range. If you can get it for $30, I don't think it's unfair, though. I don't think it's a bad product. And I think that some people very well could and do enjoy sipping this. So that's all fine to me. But for me, it's a little expensive at that price point for how much I enjoy it. And even price aside, I just think it's a 6.4. So there we go.
Yeah, fair enough. Ryan, what do you have to say about it?
I'm not a big rye drinker either. It's not really my cup of tea. I mean, I like this. It's good. But as you've seen lately, I definitely go for something that's a little sweeter. Elijah Craig, the mellow corn. Mellow corn's obviously half the price of this, and I still like the mellow corn a little more. I'm going to give this one 6.9, right under a 7. Ryes are just a little spicier on the note, a lot of black pepper components to it, I feel like, which doesn't really vibe with me, as the kids say. So I'm going to go with a 6.9.
Okay. So I do like Ryes. I like Ryes quite a bit. I think that some of the stuff that distillers do with rye, it just blows my mind, right? Because you can get so much flavor out of rye. It's such a spicy grain to begin with, but then like the different techniques that they have to like bring out different flavors and the different yeasts, you can do so much with a rye. I'm a big fan of ryes. However, this one, when I compare it to Jim Beam White Label, I'm not overly impressed with Sazerac Rye in comparison to Jim Beam White Label, which is our 5.0. So because of that, I'm giving Sazerac Rye a 5.7. And I don't think it's that much better than Jim Beam White Label. I do agree that it is, like Steven said, mostly, for me personally, a mixer. It's not a rye that I really enjoy drinking neat. Yes, every now and then I do. But for me, it's mostly a mixer. And I can think of numerous ryes that I would rather have neat that are in that same price range or a little bit less expensive. So that's my support for my rating.
Maybe we did. I mean, what's the temperature in our houses right now? Maybe
that's a great question.
Maybe we're fucking this up, you guys. Maybe it's 70 in here.
Then 69 here.
69 there. Yeah. Okay. So that's the reason you rated it so high. Whereas here it's a little bit warmer. So it drops that rating.
Another brother showing